bit late. But here we are. Wonderful. All right. Hello, Bina. Glad you're here. So yes, definitely it is saying is live now. That's fantastic. So very good. All right. So now we can share this to the... Say again, Bina.
I was just saying hello, everyone, and welcome to our live today. And hope you guys will join us. And please do comment and share on the timelines too.
Okay, you're breaking up a little bit, Bina.
Okay, so continue.
Yeah. Maybe just get your positioning right there for the... Okay. All right. So to recap what we've been doing about in these parts here, in parts 1, 2, and 3, and part 2 was in 2 parts. And we've been going over what's really good to know before doing a course or a program. And this is very helpful because, if you go into any course or program and you don't really have the setup, you're not prepared adequately and appropriately, then you can waste so much of what's going on. Are you seeing us in group? Sorry, Bina, to interrupt myself. I'm not. Bina, are you seeing us in group? Bina? I'm not hearing you, Bina. Are you muted? Yeah. Bina, are you muted? You muted, Bina. All right, let me just go and see. All right, before I continue, I just want to make sure that...
Yes, sorry.
Okay, so are you seeing us in group?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
all right.
sorry. I just want to make sure. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, now I hear you feedback there. Oh, everything's all messy today. All right, we'll get it right. So to continue, so I shared in parts 1, 2, and 3,
Yes.
all the things that are useful to know before doing stuff. Just to when you have prepared and you're getting right to do it, it's like you're going to go on a job site and you've got all your tools with you. This is being prepared. You've got the right gear, the right equipment, the right mindset, all of the stuff, right? Plus, you want to have specialized tools. And this is a very, very big deal to have those tools on hand. And then I shared in part 2, I shared all of the particular tools and doings that we use in Way of Impeccability, which is the core program that I put on and I present, and I have others as well, but that's the main core one, and it's almost required before doing any of the others. Not 100%, but it does help because it establishes the foundation, and there's a lot of the tools that are used in that. Now, in that, when doing any of my programs, there are particular ways that I use to do that, and I don't know others that do this, but things like doing repeat backs and takeaways and the dictionary of power and so on and so forth, right? So these are all really, really powerful tools, and if you're not sure what I'm talking about and are interested to know, just have a look in the Guides tab in Group, and you will see those right there. You will see them listed, parts 1, 2, and 3, and it will be very easy to watch those and catch up. Right. So anybody not knowing where we're at with this, all you have to do is then just go back to the Guides tab in Group. All right. So now I'm shared. Bina, I still can't share to a page. That option it's not available when I click on share. So if you have it, if you can share it to a page, share it to nobilia.org, please.
Okay.
Very interesting. Yeah. All right. So
I'm
hello,
glad because
Janelle. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're visiting. So say again, Bina.
Just it's breaking, so something is not really right here with connectivity.
All right, just leave
so
and
please
come
just
back.
keep going.
That's
I
fine.
will.
Yeah, just leave and come back. No problem. All right, see you soon. All right, so yeah, I'm going to go screen share and start what we're doing. Brilliant. So Wow, all 10 minutes to get here. Thanks, Facebook. All right, so this is just, I'm just going to go over real quick what we did before and the curriculum. The first part was what doing Way of Impeccability will do for you. So program promises, but really, I really went by historical facts and what participants have said and what I've seen in them and what what can be legitimately verified, not just, oh, I think this is going to happen. No, this is what has happened, even though it's a promise, and therefore I can quite confidently promise it that it will happen. And then so you can really go through that, and the value of going through that is not necessarily to remember it all or anything, no, but go through it and say, yes, that's what I want, and write it down, because this will give you clarity of intent, and we'll talk about that in a moment. It's a very big deal. Then this part 2 was all of the specific tools and techniques that we utilize and what is required from a participant. And today I'm focusing on exactly what Way of Impeccability is, not general like I did before. I made it whether you're doing somebody else's course or just learning on your own or just with friends, whatever. But no, this is in Way of Impeccability. There are requirements of the participant. You have to do things in a particular way. And that makes a huge difference. Doing the program as intended is transformational. It makes a massive difference. You can't do this thing, halfway. Got to do it right. And when you do it right, it's not like a very onerous or difficult thing to do. It just means doing it that way. That's all. But it makes a huge difference. And then this last part, which you did last week, this is the deeper psychology of learning how to learn, and went through that. This is very key, because if you don't know how to learn, or if you just kind of don't have advanced tools, don't understand some things, just makes your learning slower and more difficult. So all of this, we went through these slides. You can go to the other recorded videos in the guides tab, in my guides tab in Way of Impeccability. You'll find them there. All right, so now we're going to come to what is Way of Impeccability itself. And I'm going to go through the curriculum and give you a real insight into it. So it's almost going to be like a little mini course, but again, I hesitate to say that, because Way of Impeccability is a very sophisticated program. There's a lot of depth to it, much involved, right? And as such, you can't really do it just lightly. No, it doesn't work. You got to get the whole thing. So the Way of Impeccability Life Change Program, a toolbox for deliberate living. That's its subtitle. This is very, very important. A toolbox for deliberate living. And that's what we're looking to do. It's not a set of beliefs. I'm not telling you how to live. Yes, you're going to get tools with which you can decide how you want to live according to what works for you, not how I think or anybody else or any other, it doesn't matter who, saying. No, you're the one who's got to live according to what's in your heart, your mourners, what appeals to you, what's right for you, your intents. Now, to get clarity on that, yes, this I can help with. This I can give you tools to do so, and we'll get into that in a moment. So this is a toolbox for deliberate living. When you're not living deliberately, you're kind of wasting your life, right? It's probably anybody who has ever done something deliberately. They know when you do deliberately, there's power to it, there's joy to it, there's mourners to it. It adds to your excitement, your fun, your joy. It gives you purpose and meaning and significance, right? So deliberate living changes everything. It's a huge deal. This is where we're heading, to this point where you're living deliberately. You're doing things because you want to, right? It's a very, very powerful way of being. The Way of Impeccability is a deliberate way of living, which deals with transforming a meaningless, hollow, unsatisfying, purposeless personal life without focus to one which transforms you into a spirit warrior, living impeccably and deliberately in ways which are meaningful, purposeful, significant, and matter to you as an individual, to live and be in a way which you can be proud of and which brings out the real you, That you which deeply connects to the profound and meaningful. Your profound and meaningful. This is the core program and in most cases essential to do before any of the other programs or courses. Absolutely. So I really want to emphasize this point because almost every other program or course that I know of or teaching that I know of, they are all telling you this is how you should be, essentially, right? This is not what Way of Impeccability does. I want to emphasize that. Way of Impeccability does not tell you how you should be or should live. In other words, there's no beliefs, no telling. It provides you with a bunch of tools, and most of them are self-evident sensibilities, like deliberate living. Just that term, deliberate living, right there, you think, wow, deliberate living. I didn't really hear that before, like in this way. Wow. Let me think about that a bit. Is deliberate living something I want? Why would I not want to live deliberately? Then I would be kind of living mindlessly and just go, oh no, okay. If I am living deliberately, well, I've done things that I've been deliberate about before, and it was really cool. I was focused, I was purposeful, I was energized, I was motivated, but that was just about one thing. Maybe other stuff in my life still pulled me down, and I didn't really have, the joy. But on that topic, okay. But if my whole life was deliberate and I lived, wow, man, then I would be living in a really powerful way, okay? Because when you engaged in deliberate living, of course, you've got trust and fear is not an issue. And, you have confidence and things like this. They all come together with us, right? So it all fits together. Everything is connected. But I want to make this point about self-evident sensibilities. Deliberate living is a self-evident sensibility. Yes. Now, when I say transforms you into a spirit warrior, don't get too hung up on that. This is just a self-conception that I use as a convenience. But as I go through the curriculum, you'll see there is a session that focuses on the self-conception, and you'll come up with your own self-conception, right? And it's a very big deal. It's a huge deal. It's one of the core parts of Way of Impeccability. And in the tech industry, they always talk about disruptive technologies. That's what they all want. They all want a disruptive technology, like I guess the smartphones, where they were disruptive technology when they came along. There are lots of examples of disruptive technology. You can just Google it. Well, in the industry that I'm in, which I guess would be the life change industry or self-improvement industry or whatever, life coaching, I have plenty of disruptive technologies that I utilize in the programs that I do, and of course, in Way of Impeccability in particular. And, how we deal with self-conception is one of those, and all of the other tools that we've already discussed, most of them are disruptive technologies. They make a massive difference, in other words, and they aren't typically used. All right, so we're going to start here, and I'm just going to go through the curriculum and discuss more or less a little bit what's involved. So module 1, I mean, just the first way it's set up, obviously you see modules, module 1, 2, 3, and there's 8 altogether, and then there's a bonus one as well. But the modules have a theme to them, of course, and then the sessions in there are dealing specifically with particular topics, more focused, more precisely. So the first one is intent and appropriateness. 2 absolute key terms. Now, right here, if you want to get a little mini education, make your own little dictionary of power and put right in there intent and appropriateness. Well, I guess you could put deliberate living from before in there, and you can put in self-conception. Those would all be in your dictionary of power. And of course, keep in mind, it's your dictionary of power. It's not so, but these I recommend you put in there, right? Because intent, understanding what intent is, how intent works, all the details. Yes, at some point we go through that and we get into it. This is critical. To understand appropriateness, number 1, to know that appropriateness does not mean proper. If you look in the dictionary, they confuse appropriateness with proper. No, it doesn't, right? We'll get into that. So, yeah, somebody's going to say, what do you want to tell me the dictionary is wrong? Oh, yes, plenty times. Dictionaries are often wrong. You have to understand this. It's very important. Dictionaries change, especially over time. And if you look every year, big dictionaries will put out their corrections and adjustments and updates. and we'll say, okay, these words mean this now, they used to mean that, or whatever, right? Now, also, the other reason that dictionaries are often wrong is because they don't have the space to go into detail on complex terms like appropriateness. Appropriateness is not a simple term to explain. Same with intent. There's a lot behind it. They just don't have the space. I mean, I could probably, write, well, not probably, I have, to really give a good understanding of either intent or appropriateness might take a couple of pages. That's too long for a dictionary. So just understand this, right? And why I mention this is because understanding conceptions and appropriateness and intent are both conceptions, not just words. They're more than words. They're bigger. Conception is bigger. Conception is open. It connects to other things. It's interconnected. Like appropriateness and intent, very interconnected. Appropriateness and impeccability, oh my goodness, hugely interconnected, right? Same thing with impeccability. If you look in the dictionary, it's going to tell you to be without sin. It's like, hello, that's old stuff already. There are a lot more to impeccability. And part of the program, of course, is understanding what these conceptions mean. If you really, really understand them, you go, and the light comes on and you get it. And because they self-evident sensibilities. Appropriateness, how is being appropriate and the ability to be appropriate in any circumstance? How is this not something that is, well, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? To have the ability to be appropriate in any circumstance. For that, we need awareness, yes? And part of that awareness is impeccability, right? So impeccability is a way of being that enables you to be appropriate in pretty much any circumstance. Very, very, very big deal. Now, look at that, right? Just in the title of this first module, we've got an entire life philosophy, a life psychology, and we have something practical to apply. Oh, I want to improve my life. All I got to do is learn how to be more appropriate. Well, duh. I don't mean duh in a rude way, but duh in a good way. Yes, exactly. When something is a duh and it's obvious and it's simple, wow, okay, now I know what to do. All I have to do is learn how to be appropriate in any circumstance. Well, that's pretty easy. Well, okay. The conception is easy. The actual doing of it might not be so. But really, this is a start because you say, well, okay, I need to be more appropriate when I'm like dealing with people who are just, jackasses. Well, that's hard. In order to do that, I need to learn to be more patient, more tolerant, more understanding, more forgiving, more disciplined, more strategic, more assertive, all sorts of things you got to learn, right? But you know what you're doing. In other words, you have clarity of intent, right? So this is when we get to the introduction, course taking details, we get to our first session. And it's called Focus of Purpose, but it's about clarity of intent. So when you have focus of purpose, you first of all have to have clarity of intent. And when you have focus of purpose, when you know what you are doing, then everything becomes relevant and pertinent, right? So if you say, well, that's it, I need to be appropriate, or, well, my intent is I want to, be the best parent that I could possibly be, right? Now, all your actions have this focus of purpose. You motivated. And whatever you do is connected to being a better parent or being a better spouse or being a better individual or whatever your particular personal intents, plural, are. They don't have to have just one. You can have multiple, right? But because you have that focus of purpose, our brains are set up when you focused on something to see the connections, right? Because this is how the brain works. It's kind of a reverse filtering. When we go through our daily lives, our awareness, which comes through our senses, it is aware of a zillion things, right? Every little detail, but we don't remember all of it because we get overloaded. So your brain has to filter things out in order to make you really be able to work with the life around you. Now, that filtering is absolutely dictated by what is important to you, your focus of purpose. Yeah. So the more focused your purpose, the more your filtering gives you what is focused on your purpose. Now, of course, that can work against you, as you've probably seen when people are in an absolute bubble. They've had an argument with Bay, and it's like, they're just looking, wow, what to say. They're in a mad fit. They want to just fight with somebody, and they walk around in a little cloud. You see them at work, and you say, there we go. Joe's had a fight with Mary again, and here we go. And no talking to them today. They're going to be in that bubble. They don't even notice what's going around them. So this is because they filtered everything out. All they can do is filter what's relevant to them and that little minor goal. So we have to be very careful with our focus of purpose, to not have it be limiting like this, right? So we want broad overview focus of purpose that affects your life. That's in general. For instance, if I'm looking to be the best parent I'm going to be, that's also going to make me the best individual, or the most appropriate, however. So it works together, right? It's going to also improve me as a spouse and so on. It's going to make me better at work and so on and so forth. So my whole life is gone that. So that's an appropriate intent. So this understanding of intent and appropriateness, having them work together, this is a huge deal. So we want to be very sure we have clarity of intent, not a loose, vague, generalized intent. No, because those can lead to unintended consequences. Yes, we have to be careful. So we want clarity of intent. Clarity of intent is power. We say that again. Clarity of intent is power. When you are absolutely clear of what you want, and your reasons for doing so are genuine, legitimate reasons that you can stand behind, that gives you real moreness in your life, right? You'll see sometimes people they think they have clarity of intent, but they're doing things because their parents said so, or because they think they should, or because they just want it for crappy reasons, like self-importance reasons. Oh, look, I want to look how important I am. I want to look clever. I want to look whatever, and nonsense like that. Now, those aren't going to help you. You may think so, but they're going to cause you more trouble than you are going to get benefit. And yes, sometimes you get people with those intents. They do succeed in getting them, but they always pay a massive price for it. So if you pay attention to people who have cloudy intents, they get there sometimes, but it costs them a great deal, and they pay a steep price for those, right? Just the way things work, right? So then this clarity of intent, this sets us up to have that clarity, is also to now work with your brain. Your brain starts to filter your entire world to connect to what it is that you are doing, what you want, what you focused on. Now, an intent is very different to a want or a desire or a wish or a hope. And in Way of Impeccability, we are very particular. You'll almost never hear me use the word intention. Because an intention is something like, well, they had good intentions. Well, if they had good intentions and the thing still went all the other way around, that doesn't really mean much. Why? Because intentions typically are what you wish to do, what you hope to do, what you want to do. And intent is what you commit to do. When you actually start to put energy into that, and an intent is something that once you set an intent, this is something that takes on a life of its own. Right? And you committed, your energy is fueling that intent, but it sort of pulls you along. And intent, therefore, has a life of its own. So you have to be very clear and very decisive and very precise when you're setting your intents, right? And you have to be, your conscience has to be clear when it comes to intent, because otherwise you're going to fight your own intent, and that's no good. So clarity of intent, very, very important. But I want to make this point, though, between intent and intention, because I see this word intention used all over the show. And yeah, people use it because there's no real commitment. But when I set an intent, I'm committed to that, right? If I intend to do something, that means I've already decided, I'm already on the path, I'm already busy doing it, right? So an intent is a very real thing. It's like a force. Very, very big deal. So just look around, and when you see or even when when somebody says, I intend to do this, if they are really using the conception as appropriate, they really are going to do this. They're not just saying they wish they're going to do it, or they hope they're going to do it, or they want to do it, or no, they are already in the process. And it's essentially, they are telling you, I'm going to do everything I can in order to get this done, right? That's an intent, yes? Of course, they can't say it will be so because they don't know how things will turn out if they're honest. But an intent is, they are doing this and they're going to stick with it until they get it done. So an intent is a very, very serious focus of energy. Yeah. Very important to be aware of, because we tend to not use our energy in life very well, our life energy, right? That intent energy, that focus energy. We tend to have it all over the show and it's kind of wasted. So it's very important to have clarity of intent. So then we get to our second session, specific practices. And this is what we went over in part 2. Session 2, same thing pretty much. It's going to go over the repeat backs, the takeaways, dictionary of power, and so on. All of those particular things. Actually, when we went over in part 2, it's very detailed. And this has most of that, maybe a few other extra things also in there. It's very clear to know not only what you are trying to accomplish for yourself, but also to be very clear about the tools of how you're going to get there. You might say, I have the intent to build my own house. Well, if you don't have screwdrivers and saws and hammers and all of these things, forget about it. You're wasting your time. Or, well, you might need, if you're building with bricks, like in where I grew up, and they don't build houses with wood, they build them with bricks. You need trowels and buckets for your mortar and all of this stuff, right? So different tools for different tasks, but you need to have that. Now, in Way of Impeccability, what we are going to do from a life point of view, because obviously, building a house is an analogy here, right? And the tools that we have aren't physical tools, but abstract tools of psychology, tools of philosophy, tools of understanding, tools of awareness, tools of intent. What we're going to develop in Way of Impeccability, you're going to develop the ability to create your own tools as needed, right? So this toolbox that we have, the toolbox for deliberate living, is kind of a magical toolbox because it can create the tools as needed, right? That's what happens when you have clarity of intent, when you have the ability to be appropriate, and you can shift and be flexible and fluid and adaptable, and you can perspective shift, think things through to the end. Those core tools allow you to create other tools. This is a profound thing. It's a profound thing. And this enables you to essentially live life without stress, without anxiety, without worry, to live with capital T trust. Why? Because you know that if you need to do it, you're going to figure out how. You've got the tools. You've got the tools. You know how to collaborate. You know how to cooperate. You know how to ask for help. You know how to make associations, etc., etc. It's not all about just doing it yourself necessarily. If need be, then so be it. But there's much to this. In other words, you become enabled, and this is a big deal. This is a big deal. And when we are enabled, we become empowered. Very, very, very big deal. Right? So we get to session 3 in this intent and appropriateness. And this, how it makes sense, comes back again, I believe, in module 7 or module 8. And this is going to be talking about awareness and how awareness and the pursuit of awareness and why is appropriate and how it all fits and connects with everything we do. And this also touches on how awareness from the way the world works, how awareness fits into the bigger picture, so that we aren't just doing things from our own little bubble point of view. We are also connected to the greater way in which life works. Now, you might say, "Whoa, but Sil, you said you weren't going to be touching on beliefs. Isn't that kind of a belief and an idea?" That's a very good point and a very good question and very legitimate. And I will say, yes, however, it will only be a belief temporarily. I will put it out as a conception. And I said, here we go. This is the way I see and know and understand the world to work. Why? Because I experience it every day, and I connect to everybody else or previous participants. They are doing this in this way. So all you've got to do is, don't believe me, just go out and test what I'm saying. And then you'll see it come back at you. And okay, then you don't need to believe. If you've tested it and experienced for yourself, belief is out the window. So don't believe, but test, right? And this is, in many situations, there are similar circumstances. Don't believe me. Go out and say, I don't believe what he's saying, but let me give it a try. Let me give it an honest test, right? And then you see if it works or not. Well, inevitably it does, and then you see. All right, so this is very cool. And this is a point about how awareness is life itself, capital L life, is geared towards the enhancement and development of awareness, right? Now, like I said, you may say, well, okay, I'm going to have to take your word for that. Yeah. But don't take my word for it. Go and test it and see. When you start looking at life from this perspective, everything changes. Now, I don't want to get too much into it because, again, it's a whole session, and then we'll just be spending the whole session just on that. But I want to use it as an example of what we do and why going into detail, in depth on things makes this big difference. And it's very, very important. But this is a very big point, because anybody who's been in business knows that, especially if you've got your own business, that you need to be connected to the greater world. Yes. If you're out of touch with the world, well, first of all, you're going to make products that people don't want, All right, let's say, to use a very obvious example, in anything that's got some kind of topicalness, music or fashion, or you're making furniture even, right? If you make furniture and your style is kind of 60s, unless you're making retro furniture, this is not really going to give you much of a customer base, right? Some people say, well, what the hell I want to buy this stuff for? I mean, this is like out of date, it's out of touch, you're disconnected. So to be connected and be in touch is a big deal. So in order to do that, you have to literally be in touch and connected. Now, that's just from a business point of view. Also, if you've got a bigger business, you need to know the politics, and you need to understand how that stuff's going, and you need to know the economic circumstances. In other words, you have to really be connected to the world. And the more connected you are, the more easily you are able to make your business appropriate. Yes? And this is the key to business for the most part, right? The bigger your business, the more connected you need to be. Now, what about when it comes to our personal life? If we take our personal life as a business, doesn't this mean we need to be connected to the world also? Not just to the politics and economics and fashions and styles and sensibilities and the way people are thinking and talking and so on, all this stuff, right? We also want to be connected to the mourners of the world, the spiritual side of things. Yeah, to the energy, the intent, all right. Wow. Okay, wow. And now you're talking serious stuff. So yes, I am. This is a big deal. So how it all makes sense is putting us a framework for how we can live in attunement, which comes in Module 8, and how we can connect. But it's the start of this. So we're starting, and then we're going to end and close and connect it all together, right? And we're going to have the tools for doing this, how to live in tune with the world and be connected and have it all work with you rather than working against the world. Yeah. Don't want to be working against the world. That's no good, right? Many people end up in the river of life. Now, if you spent any time, especially in big rivers, right? If you jump in just on the side, you could feel the current going one way, right? Because you're in an eddy. And you say, oh, I'm going with the current. Actually, you're going upstream. It's a very small current because it's an eddy and it won't last very long. It's going to spin you out, and then you're going to end up going backwards again. And, you may end up going in circles. Like if you've spent time around rivers, you know what I'm talking about, right? So we have to be careful in life. If we're in a bubble, we don't realize we're in an eddy. And yes, temporarily, I'm going with the current. But no, you're not actually. You're just going to come back around again. And yes, you may get kicked out into the bigger stream. You may get washed up on the bank. All sorts of things can happen. But if you really want to go with the river and utilize the current, you have to get out there. And in order to get out there in the current, well, this takes some preparation and doing. And, if you don't have the right tools to be in the current, that's not going to be any good either, So you have to have some kind of a craft or boat, you swim, a life jacket, whatever. You need tools to really be able to go with the current. Now, furthermore, if you know kayaking, not very popular now, if you actually literally want to go with the flow, which is a great expression, and people love this, but they almost understand it because they like this idea of going with the flow because they think, well, this appeals to my laziness. I just have to do nothing. Well, if you literally just put your kayak in the middle of the river and you go with the flow, I'll get you in 1 second, Bina, and you go with the flow, what's going to happen? Anybody who's been on a river will tell you you're going to wash up on the first corner in the river, the first bend in the river. It'll wash you out, right? Because that's the thing. In order to stay in the current, you have to paddle a little bit to stay there, because it'll push you to the sides, right? If you just literally go with the flow, and sooner or later you'll end up on the back. So to be in attunement, to be able to go with the flow, it requires you make a little bit of effort. This is what Way of Impeccability is all about. It's developing those tools that you paddle a little bit here, you paddle a little bit there, and you adjust. Now, of course, in life, it's much more complicated than paddling on a river. And that's why we have all of these sessions, all of these modules. They enable us to have the tools to be able to position ourselves appropriately so we can go with the flow. Big deal, big deal. All right, so that's module 1. Yes, Bina. Yes, Bina. Glad you're back, Bina. Glad you're back.
Yes, okay, because sorry for internet connectivity today. It's not really working nice, but okay. Janelle is here, Ryan is here, and Cheryl is here, and Norma is here, and they all are saying good morning.
Yes.
So I just want you to
Oh, wonderful,
acknowledge
wonderful.
that
All
everybody
right.
is
Yes,
here.
I
They are
see it there.
participating.
I see it there. Hello, Norma. I'm very pleased that you've come to join us. Yes, life energy, Norma. Life energy is different to physical energy. Look around at people you know. Right? Some of them have great physical energy and they work very hard and do lots of things. But when it comes to life, they're a little bit miserable or sad or whatever, right? They don't really enjoy life. They don't have that connectivity to life. There's no magic. There's no power. There's no delight in their lives. That's what I mean by life energy, right? The energy that gets you to live, 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 live. So, brilliant. Hello, Janelle. Yes, I'm thrilled that you're here. Hello, Ryan. Also thrilled that you're here. Very cool. Very cool. Most excellent. Yes, others couldn't make it. Like Erica Jane, she's traveling, and so is Cheryl. Everyone, just all over the show. So I'm pleased that you guys
Cheryl
are
is
here.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheryl is here.
Yes, Cheryl is here.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Hello, Cheryl. I'm very pleased, very pleased, very pleased. That's very cool. I hope your friend got the invite as well. If not, she can just go to my page or come to the group and it should be live. I believe these are set up to be public. You don't have to be a member of the group to see the live. So she can go there. So please, anybody listening, if you have any comments or questions, please put them in chat there. Bina will let me know when they're there. And either she'll just answer directly, or we'll answer them on Zoom. I'll address it directly. This is important because I am screen sharing and I'm going through things, so I'm not always looking at the Facebook page. But Bina helps me tremendously in this, and also Bina. I know you're paying attention there, but while we go through this, also, as I mention these things, if they have personal relevance to you. Mention how it affected you, how it connected with you. I'm keen to hear from you in that regard. It's very helpful to have somebody who's experiencing this. Yes, you did Way of Impeccability a long time ago, and we've done much else since then. But nonetheless, you are an ideal exemplification of a participant who is living a Way of Impeccability. You get to use it every single day. Yes, right, Bina? Oh, you muted. Maybe our connectivity is off again. So it's but on and off for Bina. But anyway, you can answer later, Bina, if you heard my question, right? So module
Yes,
2.
absolutely, Sil.
Okay,
And for me, clarity. Yes. Oh yeah. So I was just saying that for me, clarity of it is actually the foundation of self-honesty, and then of course is going to leverage honesty and will. So
exactly.
when we understand that what is our intent and we have the complete clarity,
Exactly.
this is what builds the self-honesty, and then
Exactly.
of course it is going to manifest.
Exactly. So just listen to what Bina said there. One simple little point. She said clarity of intent has been fundamental, instrumental, most important. I'm elaborating a little bit on Bina's words here because I'm hearing what she's saying, and I understand this. So clarity of intent has been absolutely instrumental for her living with self-honesty and honesty. Oh, you say, but Bina, were you a dishonest person? No, Bina's one of the most honest people I've ever met. However, being able to express your honesty, being able to connect to your internal stuff, It's not that you're dishonest, but it's just that, well, it was a bit awkward. It was a bit unclear. It was a bit unsure. It was uncomfortable and so on. Okay. But when you have that clarity of intent, you can get past all of that stuff. And all those little bubbles and pockets of fuzziness inside you start to go away, and you can get to who you are, right? All those little things, they aren't because you are deliberately being dishonest. It's just that you don't have the ability yet to deal with them in full honesty. So you avoid it, right? And they just kind of fuzzy and nebulous, and they press on you and they make your life a little bit fuzzy. There's no clarity of it. But when you get this clarity of intent, all that, you can deal with it. You know what you're about. You have focus, you have purpose, you have meaning, significance. It's an awesome thing. So yeah, it's a simple point. Now, I ask anybody listening to this, whether live or on the replay, ask yourself, are you living in full honesty and self-honesty? And would you like to? How much would your life change if you were able to live in full honesty and self-honesty? Now, that doesn't mean that you necessarily are going around being a jackass saying, rude things. People think this is what it means to be honest. No, not necessarily. First of all, you don't have to feel those things necessarily. You can develop a greater tolerance and patience so that, yes, you don't think that the person, you don't have those things to say. But honesty doesn't mean that you go around being rude to people or saying whatever's on your mind. No. If you need to, you're able to. If it's appropriate to do so, you're able to. That's a big difference. Yes, Pina, go ahead.
Yes, finally, sure is also here, and she made a comment that okay, finally made it. So welcome, Shah. And also Cheryl made a comment, and she says that we see honesty as something we offer to others. Okay, sorry, just scrolling up.
We see honesty
we
as
offer
something.
others. Being honest with ourselves is something else altogether.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So when you see honesty not as something that, you're telling people unpleasant truths about themselves, no, that's not your business. That's their business. But honesty with others is to allow them to see you as you really are, your mourners. You're not hiding yourself. Then being honest with ourselves, exactly as Cheryl says, is something else altogether. Now, one of the biggest points of self-honesty is getting the ability to acknowledge your mourners. Not your lessness, your mourners. We are so conditioned and so programmed and so much pressure on us to be less and to be nothing and to be invisible and to be obedient, etc., that when we say, well, but there's mourners to me, this is a scary thing. Why? Because those that are trying to push you down so that they can be up, we'll talk about superiority paradigm another time, but they don't want you to show your mourners. Right. So they try and have you be less because it's going to show them up. So now they make this something that's sort of fearful in a way. So this is a big deal, right? Being honest with ourselves is something else altogether. Yes. And of course, to acknowledge, hey, you know what? I've been crappy on this. Yes, I've been indulgent in this. Yes, I can do better on this. Those are important things. Why? Because, well, it's convenient to be lazy sometimes or crappy. But we do things for negative reasons and we don't see that we get a short-term benefit at the massive expense of a longer-term cost. And we don't see this. This is what self-honesty is all about, looking at the bigger picture. But being able to live in that self-honesty, it's a freedom, it's a joy, it's a game changer, as Sher just says. And you say there, Sher, acknowledging mourners is challenging. But when we do, it's a game changer. Absolutely. My worldview changed after I learned it's necessary to acknowledge my mourners. Yes, acknowledging our mourners, especially like in someone's like Sher's case, who grew up to be really in that trauma victim spot where people were doing horrible things to her as a little child, and they're teaching her to lie. Don't talk about this. You can't say anything about this, of course, because then you're going to expose them for this, right? So being honest was something that she was taught not to be. That to be a good girl, she had to be a liar, right? and to be more, in other words, if she had really exercised her moreness, which would include, in this case, just simply being honest, would have collapsed that whole world and caused lots of trouble. Yes, would have been good trouble in a sense, but this would have been a big deal. So this is huge, how acknowledging our moreness, and we're just talking about moreness in the context of honesty here. But in Sher's case, moreness is like, hey, being articulate, being insightful, being aware, being understanding, and being compassionate, and being connected, being appropriate, all of this stuff. I mean, you just have to read, go into the guides tab, look at Sher's guide, and just read some of her articles. You'll see exactly, because Sher is sharing her path, her journey. It's a great gift to see somebody share their journey. It's really, really, really powerful. Very, very cool. So yes, acknowledging the mourners, you would think, well, why wouldn't I? Lots of reasons why. Lots of reasons why. It can be very scary to acknowledge your mourners. And also, the thing that scares so many people, profoundly scares them, is responsibility. When you start to acknowledge your mourners, you are saying, I'm responsible for my life. I'm responsible for my happiness, for my joy, for my well-being. This is very scary, right? Especially if we've been taught to be dependent on others for our happiness. Right? Now, a lot of people will teach you that because this gives them some value, some self-importance, etc., etc. They don't want you to be independent necessarily, right? It shows them up. There are lots of reasons why people do negative things, and it's a long story. You have to get into understanding the superiority paradigm. And in Way of Impeccability, we are looking to get to be able to live. That toolbox for deliberate living is also a toolbox for independent living. Independent, I don't mean where you're going to be a hermit, no, but where you can live outside of the superiority paradigm. You can live in a new paradigm. You can live in a joy paradigm, in a love paradigm, in a learning and growing paradigm, in an awareness paradigm, in an appropriateness paradigm, all sorts of other paradigms, and a play paradigm that are not the superiority paradigm. Yeah. So accountability, yes, exactly. Being responsible for our way of being. And this is, once you start to acknowledge your moreness, it brings to fact, I'm responsible. Well, I do have moreness. I do have awareness. I do have understanding. I do have integrity. I do have a conscience. Oh, crap. Oh, and we are, and sadly, we think this is a stressful thing to live. No, it's not. It's only because that superiority paradigm, which is the culture of crappiness, those that have push this culture that we're in, they are looking for ways to justify their own crappiness. Well, if you want to be crappy, then you want all these excuses. But we don't want to be crappy. So it's a terrible paradigm. But it's a big story to understand that, the superiority paradigm. But it's something that comes through. I've got a whole separate program on the superiority paradigm. But I do bring it into Way of Impeccability as we go through. I bring it in as appropriate as we go through to understand this. Very, very, very big deal. Very big deal. All right, so let's continue a little bit here. So module 2 is takeaways and learning how to learn. So takeaways, it's a philosophy, the philosophy of takeaway. Now, when I say philosophy, please hear me when I say philosophy. Right? I don't mean philosophy like most of us have come to understand philosophy to be very dry, boring, theoretical stuff that nobody can understand. No, those are some philosophers that did that, and they gave philosophy a bad name, unfortunately. That's not. Philosophy is essentially that which you, in your heart and soul, believe and know and want to be, what you use to live by. Yes? So, if your philosophy is, okay, well, my philosophy is play. I love to play and I love to learn. Well, that's a great life philosophy, because, play is learn is all together. Well, good. It doesn't make you irresponsible necessarily. It just means this is what's important to you. And you can play your job. You can be very responsible. You can turn being a parent into play. Do you know parents who play their way through parenting? Everything they do with their children is play. Wow, these are awesome, awesome, awesome parents. See? So my point is that this is their philosophy play, right? So others may be, whatever it is. My point is when your philosophy is what's important to you, what you use and apply in your daily life. So philosophy is not dry theoretical stuff. No, philosophy, everybody that you know has a philosophy. Some of them may have it a bit unclear and a bit poorly defined, but they still have a philosophy. You just have to listen to country western songs, and you very quickly hear philosophy being articulated, right? Or most music, most art expresses some kind of a philosophy. In other words, it's what's important to you and what you live by. That's what your philosophy is. So this takeaway is a philosophy. Why? Because it's practical and we use it. In Way of Impeccability, it's all about practical applicability. Like Erica Jane will say to you, if I don't see how I can use this, it doesn't mean anything. I've got to know how can I use this? How can I apply this? How can I put this into application, into practical application? And this is takeaway is one of the things that we do. We'll get into that, of course, in the session in detail. But essentially, to do a takeaway is to be able to learn, to have the tools and the ability to get value, to extract value from everything you do. Right? So the philosophy of takeaway is something that you apply to everything, whatever's going on, whatever you interact with. Like, for instance, right now, if you do a takeaway on what I just said, okay, do a takeaway on module 1, right? I was talking about intent and appropriateness. Wow, okay, oh, wow. How does this apply to me? Oh, you know what? My intents are kind of fuzzy. I don't really know what appropriateness means, so I need to know more. Okay, there's my takeaway. I need to learn more. I need to find out more. That I hear the importance of this, and I realize that my intents are a bit fuzzy, and I don't really know what it means. Same with appropriateness. I don't quite get it, so I need to know more. So right there's your takeaway. Doesn't mean you understand, but a takeaway is you are taking away something of value. What is of value? Of value here is to know that you need to know more, right? So, or you might really get it. Say, wow, yes, intent. Now I get it on intent. Okay, this is great. So now your takeaway is, oh, I need to really go back and sit and really focus on what are my intents and so whatever. My point is a takeaway is what have I learned? What can I use? What do I need to do? What do I need to change? So takeaways, very, very, very powerful. And we go into it in detail in this. It's a huge life-changing mechanism, takeaways. I mean, if you look at Sher's posts, which is so handy for us, if you go into the guides tab, at the top of group, might as well show you, right? See, guides. You click on guides, and then it will, well, everything very slow. All right, here we go. And it says guide 1, and these are all, my posts and glimpses of Way of Impeccability. Sometimes I come at things in a roundabout way, like this article, yeah, but underlying it all are all the things in Way of Impeccability just coming out in different ways, right? So even this art is feeling made manifest. Art is a very big part of Way of Impeccability. So all of these posts include the conceptualities of Way of Impeccability applied in very specific and precise ways. But if you read them, you'll see there's this thread underlying all of this that's there. Now I've got a lot of posts here, and of course all these the parts, the other part 3 and part 2 and 1 are in there. Now we can go to the next guide. This is Sher's Journey, a most powerful collection of posts, and all of these are, if you look carefully, you'll see how Sher is essentially doing a takeaway of stuff that came up for her, right? So whatever it was, making a difference to self. I think this is the post where you said, "Am I making a difference?" Right, Sher? And again, so essentially, you came across this question, this realization, this awareness, and then you did a takeaway on it, which is to say, what am I learning from this? What value am I getting from this? How does this make a difference in my life? And then you write about this. So I recommend very much going through these 2 guides here. Yes, there's much, much, much value there. Much, much, much value. Now it's a lot. So and because we are dealing with the end point of it and not the tools, of course, it's not the most ideal way of coming to Way of Impeccability, but nonetheless, right? Still valuable, very, very valuable. I mean, of course, if you just do Way of Impeccability itself, it's going to be a lot more direct and a lot more valuable. You won't have to, put it all together for yourself. That may be difficult to do. So when we do this takeaways, the very first one is the philosophy of takeaway. And then we get to the next session here, the moment of now. This is a big deal too. This is a very, very big deal. And if I remember correctly on that session, it was about questions to ask yourself in the moment of now to how can I change the moment of now? And I go through each of them in detail. So it again, tools that we can use. Tools. I get back to my video here and the comments in case I need to be here. So, Bina makes a point here. Let's see. Philosophy is a capital A attitude. We choose to act as a principle or fundamental guide for every aspect of our lives. Beautifully said, Bina. That's a very, very cool way of saying it. Yes. Most excellent. Yes. And see, this is one of the skills. If you pay attention, you'll see takeaways are critical to knowing if we have the ability to articulate our understanding. Yes. Just typing quickly there. Yes. So, but look at this now, right? See this, both Bina and Sher said things in a very concise, condensed way, like a quote, right? They're making stuff that, you can quote them on this. And this is one of the skills that they have acquired, because this is part of clarity of intent, the ability to connect to the essential issue, which comes from this skill of doing a takeaway. Right there, you see part of the practical application of the philosophy of takeaway, the ability to condense and put the key, core, important points into something that you can take away with you, that can sit in your head. In other words, to have it as a utilizable understanding. Very simple, but ridiculously powerful. So the moment of now, it's really important to understand that it's all about the now. Yes, as you've heard so many times. But the now doesn't mean that it's, again, just going with the flow. There's a lot to do in the now. And also, to live in the now doesn't mean you are completely disconnected from the past or the future. That's a misunderstanding of living in the now. To live in the now means that the past is something that benefits you, that you get value from, that you've learned from, that's of assistance. It's like you've got a library. You don't want to burn your library. No, when you need to it, you go, you look up, you reference, and you okay, all right, and then you get value from your library, right? So, but a library is also something that's in the past, is it not? It's not being written in real time. It was written before. So your past is like your personal library. You want to have this real connectivity to it in that way, to know it's there for reference, therefore as assistance to you. It's a benefit, not as a stress and a negative and something that makes you unhappy. And no. Plus, the future is something which is always part of your now. It's connected. It's part of that mourners. So when you see that I'm living in mourners now, but there's always more to mourners. So the next moment is more, and so on and so forth. So the future is not something unrealistic or crazy or wishful thinking. No, it's simply you seeing this as your path. And when you are blind to the future, well, you have to have some little bit of awareness of the future. Otherwise, you're going to end up walking off cliffs or falling into holes and stuff, right? So we need to be paying attention also, so that we don't blindly go into a future and go up dead ends and stuff like this, right? So being aware of the future makes us more appropriate so that we don't end up, like I said, going down dead ends or falling off cliffs and stuff like that. So the future is very important to have as part of your now. It's an awareness of the possibilities of future, and we are continually choosing those forks, right? So I'm looking, I say, no, I don't want to go this way. This path is all messed up and there's holes there, the bridge is down, whatever, right? So part of our now is to be awareness of the possibilities of the future. It's all connected. Anyway, I don't want to go into that too long. This is a deep topic, very cool topic, but it's very important. Again, strategies. Module 3, self-conception and the dictionary of power. Man, this is so huge. So session 1, strategic ways of being. This is the session that's about self-conception. Massive, massive big deal. Because if we aren't setting our way of being up so that it's strategic, yeah, well, you're going to get into trouble. Without strategy, we kind of sitting ducks. Yeah. So strategy is a very, very powerful thing. Now, who ever thought that your way of being can be set up strategically, that your self-conception can be a matter of strategy? This is huge, huge, huge. So let me ask Bina, sure, Cheryl, all three of you. How has your self-conception changed because of Way of Impeccability? And how much does this make a difference? Bina?
Okay, Cher is not right now at home, so she is a bit
Yeah,
behind.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it will take her time. And
Yeah.
about Shell, I am not sure that she is also
Yeah,
at home or
yeah,
not.
that's okay. If
But
they yeah, they can say. If not, that's fine too.
yes,
I know
yes,
both of
okay,
them are making an effort to be here, even though they're not at
yes,
home, they're out.
yes,
So I
yes.
appreciate them being here, really, really very much. Thank you, both of you. It's huge, it's huge. So,
Okay,
but
so
how has your self-conception changed, and how does it make
yes,
a difference to your daily life, your
yes.
moment-to-moment living?
Exactly. The first thing that we all just look for or wait for the universe to give us a lemon and then we will make a lemonade. But mostly universe gives actually real bounty to us and we don't consider that.
Yes,
So that was
yes.
the first thing when when I realized that it's a profound opportunity. And when I realized that it's a profound opportunity available, I actually grabbed it. And that prompt decision what I made changes everything in my life, not only my self conception but my self trust and the awareness about my ability that I can do something. That was the real transformation happened at that time. And from that moment is still now, I'm still just having this, and I see that profound opportunities always there. I'm just making it because that was a changing point for me about the self conception. When we learn something and when we apply it, because the whole emphasis in Way of Impeccability and all the modules and programs and courses is the whole emphasis on application. It seems like a bit overwhelming in the beginning, but once we do that, it changes everything about our own self. I know what I have done. This is not someone else's experiences or their memories I'm just admiring and appreciating. No, this is my experience. I have done this. And this knowledge is priceless, is absolutely, this feeling is priceless.
Yeah.
And it changes everything about my self-confidence and of course self-trust. Every day is full of joy and learning and growing. And this is so great.
Every day is what?
Is for learning and for growing and for joy.
It's
And this
full
is
of
so
learning and
great.
growing and joy. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And once you learn how to learn, then you don't need any other thing in your life.
Yeah.
When you learn how to learn, and this is what I have
Yeah.
learned from Way of Impeccability and Mourners project.
Exactly. Exactly. Huge deal. Huge deal. But I was asking specifically about your self-conception. The way you conceive of yourself is very different to when you started. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. 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 And
It
it's made a
was
massive difference.
it was
Yes.
okay, yes, it was conditioned, it was limited, is what it was
Yeah.
restricted,
Yeah.
because that was
Exactly.
the problem. Mostly my self-conceptions was other people's opinion about myself,
Exactly.
and this is
Exactly.
how I was living and assuming that okay, I'm
Exactly.
living my life. But
Exactly.
once we actually break all those patterns and those conditions, and then you really meet yourself, this is what happened to me.
Exactly.
I actually break everything what I had as my self-conception before, which was actually other people's opinions and ideas about me. So that
Exactly.
was huge for me. Yes.
Exactly. Exactly. So, just a simple question that I'll just ask anybody: whose life do you want to live? Live and have yourself be shaped and confined and influenced by other people's opinions or your own? Do you even want to live by opinions? Do you live by opinions now, Bina?
Nope. No
No.
more. No,
No,
absolutely not.
no, because you think things through to the end. One of those power tools. You perspective shift on stuff. So, what your idea, your conception of yourself, it's not based on opinion. It's based on
No.
self-evident sensibility. It's based on your intent. It's based on your knowing, your understanding, your moreness. This is a huge difference to living by
It's a huge
opinion.
difference. Yes, and also that we focus more energy on that. Okay, how to and when to say no. But my problem was
Exactly.
I was inappropriately, abusively using yes in my life, and that was a
Oh,
huge deal. That
wow.
we take for
Wow.
granted that okay, how much we are saying yes to things and ideas and perspectives of others without
Yes.
considering it, without thinking it through to
Yes.
the end.
Yes.
And my problem was not saying no, but actually saying too much and too many
Yes.
yeses in my life for the
Right.
people's idea. And
Right.
I
Right.
learned to use it appropriately.
Right. Right. Now, just what Bina just said. To me, that is huge, 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 and profound. It's like, holy moly, that's huge. Now, this, I want to emphasize this, that Bina has articulated, expressed something truly profound. Very simple point, but if you really think about it, it is hugely profound. Now, is this something that Bina was able to do before coming on? Yes, Bina was always a profound person, but not really, right? So this is part of Way of Impeccability, is developing the skill of expression. Now, was the thinking and the understanding this? It's always there. Every one of us has moreness in us, but connecting to that moreness, being able to express that moreness, this is what Way of Impeccability does for you, right, Bina? You always had the moreness. Cheryl has the moreness. Sher has the moreness.
Yes.
Ryan, Janelle, everybody, they
Yes.
all have moreness, but it's
Yes.
connecting to it, learning to use it, being able to express it, articulate it, put it into practice, put it into application, as Erica Jane is always saying. I need to know how to apply it, to use it practically. That's the key. That's the key. That's the key. Look, I've got an infinity thing going on here. You see
Yes.
that? That's pretty
Yes.
cool. That's very cool. I never saw this before. I was doing this infinity point. So, but I have to do this so that I see all the comments. You know, I just wanted to catch up with loving them all when I go, and I just see the most recent ones. So it's a bit peculiar how this works, and it shows them in sort of a reverse order. But anyway, all right. So facts on the toolbox. Yeah, absolutely sure. I'm so happy that Sher is attending. You know, even though she's out and about, I think she's sitting in a waiting room somewhere, something like that. But very cool, Sher. Very cool. I really appreciate the support. It's wonderful. And I like to hear your perspectives, you know, because it's so nice to be able to give. You know, I don't want to be just saying stuff and having people believe me. So when you guys come and you share from your experience, you know, not that I think that anybody's going to think that I'm talking, you know, talking out of my backside here, but it's nice to get that confirmation. It's always useful. It's always useful. You know, I really try not to have anybody need to take what I say on belief alone. Yeah, I like to substantiate. And when we go into all of these things, you'll see how everything is substantiated and they become self-evident sensibilities. In other words, they become a duh. And that's very powerful. So having an appropriate, powerful, useful self-conception, this is a duh, no? Right, Bina?
Yes.
It's a duh.
Yes.
All right. Exemplification of being, I don't remember in detail, and forgive me that I don't remember. There's a lot to all of this, but just from the title of it, it is to examples of how you can be, and demonstration. Again, exactly what I'm showing, demonstrating this, right? Exemplification of being. So I don't remember the details of that, which is quite exciting. I have to go back and look at it. I love this, you know, and this is also part of something that's a big bonus that comes from doing Way of Impeccability. Right.
Yes.
We go over this, and Bina often comes and she's there when the participants come for the sessions. So we go over the same stuff repeatedly. Repeatedly. It doesn't matter. We always get joy out of it. We always get moreness out of it. And that's part of what we do. It's a profound skill to not only be able to enjoy the same things, but to always get moreness out of them. Incredible skill, right, Bina?
Absolutely.
Yeah, or ability. It's more of an ability than a skill. We've honed it into a skill, but it's an ability we all have. And once we connect to that exemplification of being, living alive, living purposely, living deliberately, being understanding where your intents are, having your self-conception, utilizing and working for you, adding to you, it enables such abilities. All works together. All right. The dictionary of power. Big deal. One of the disruptive technologies that I have, and this is, you've already got an idea. It is your dictionary of power, and what you're doing in this dictionary of power is you're putting in the power conceptions. Now, it's going to take me quite a long while to explain in the absolute detail why this makes a deal. We're going to go into how things are conceptualized and how we structure knowledge, how the brain works, and how it utilizes information into knowledge, and so on and so forth, right? And we're going to use that computer model that we talked about in part 3 of the computer model of self, and so on and so forth. So, but the point of it is that the dictionary of power is called dictionary of power because it adds power to your life. It works together with the way the brain works, with language, with all of these tools that enable you to learn without the usual idea of learning, without needing to memorize things and all of this, right? So it makes for natural learning. Plus, we can really understand something like, okay, we understand, let's say, impeccability. We go through the part where we explain what exactly impeccability is. And you say, okay, I get it. But now you've got to actually do it and apply it. The dictionary of power is a tool that makes the application and the implementation and the becomingness, the exemplification of these particular concepts makes it much easier, makes it natural, makes it organic, makes it fluid. So I cannot emphasize enough how huge the dictionary of power is. It isn't just something that's sort of there and, you're adding these, and no, it is a way of thinking, a way of being, a way of utilizing, a way of making language and thinking all organic and innate, and things happen automatically. I call it inadvertent learning, something that most of the participants have in their dictionary of power. To understand inadvertent learning is a tremendously powerful point. Huge deal. So this dictionary of power is, it's transformational when used. When used as intended, it's transformational. And it's transformational in a way that it does the work for you. All you've got to do is just add those entries, update it, make the effort to know. You have to make a little bit of effort. We're so conditioned to, especially in the life change or the coaching industry. Most times when I see adverts for coaches, they're promising you a quick fix. I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to do this for you. None of them say, I'm going to give you the opportunity for you to do something for yourself. Because, well, part of their advertising is this is going to be quick and easy. And this is how you get lured in. Well, things can be easy, but they're not necessarily quick. And sometimes you've got to make a bit of effort. Now, if you enjoy making the effort, like all of what we're doing here, when you understand this is joy and you like learning and like growing and you get the joy from, wow, man, I'm really getting into understanding. Oh, I see that what I'm doing is like, man, this is stuff that's really going to make a difference. I get it. Now your learning is a joy. Making that effort is a joy. It's not stressful. But when you're in that quick fix mindset, it doesn't help. Furthermore, you may have a quick fix. For instance, you've got a boil. I don't know, boils. When I was a kid, boils was a thing. They don't seem to be much of a thing anymore. But anyway, you got a boil and you launch the boil and it all comes out fine. Okay, it's all over. It's not painful anymore and all this, right? But that's the quick fix. Have you solved the issue in your body that gave rise to the boil in the first place? Whatever the mineral deficiency, your diet, whatever. Yeah? No. So that's the point. If you just launch the boil, which is what quick fix programs do for you, you don't really treat the issue itself, and you're just going to get a boil again. Then you're going to go elsewhere. right? Because if you confuse that quick fix with actual treatment of the underlying cause, then you're just going to keep looking for it. And every time you're going to get your boil launched, and it's a confusion, it's a muddiness. Now, with a boil, it's very obvious. But when it comes to life change, not so obvious. So we need to fix the underlying issues, like in your body health, right? You have to have a healthy lifestyle if you want to have general health, not just treat the symptoms. If you go around treating your symptoms, you may have some sort of a facsimile, a more or lessness of health, but not really, right? And it's not an ideal way to live. I mean, if you look at people who keep treating their symptoms, right? They're always taking this pills. They're always going, hey, are they really healthy? No, it's a miserable way of living, right? So not ideal, not ideal. So this is a big issue, this dictionary of power. We want to get to the true fundamentals, and the dictionary of power is the one place where all of those, excuse me, where all of those fundamentals are held together, right? It's like the core of your operating system. You can almost think of the dictionary of power as your CMOS or your BIOS, right? If you're into computers a little bit, it serves the same functions. It's a very big deal. All right, we come to session 4, the life detective and trust. And this session is a very cool session. I love it. And it's one that's very popular also. For many of the participants, they'll tell you, that's my favorite session, right? And yes, it is it's a very big deal. All right, sure. No problem. I appreciate you being here. I just love it. I just love it. I just love that you were here. And it's truly my pleasure doing these sessions. It's truly my pleasure. And yes, I look forward to your comments watching the replay. And of course, as you know, Sher, because Sher also does her own Facebook stuff and this. But when you make a comment in the replay, Facebook puts a time next to a timestamp next to your comment. So if you're making it like wherever we are now, wow, we're already 9:21. I was trying to go an hour, but looks like we're going to go 2 hours. Oh, we may have to do more next week. Holy moly. Wow. But anyway, it will say an hour and 21 minutes into the live. This is where Sher commented. So when you comment, I can go to that point and say, oh, I see what Sher's talking about now. Right. So know this, that when you comment on the replay, that it's connected to what's going on. If you comment, while you're watching there, or pause and then comment, it's really cool because it makes it pertinent. A very cool feature of Facebook. But nonetheless, we always respond to those comments when you make them, even if it's on the replay. It doesn't matter. We're very diligent about that. It's very important to us. We take those comments very seriously. So please, share, comment, ask if you're watching the replay. Right? We take that interactivity very seriously, because of course when you come on Zoom as a participant, now I'm doing all the talking, but when you come on Zoom, I'm going to be doing all the listening, and it's going to be all about you. And so I'm really trained, and my brain, my mind, Bina also now, to really hear you, to listen. Capital H hearing, capital L listening. It's about you. All about you. So we really take those things very seriously, very earnest about it. It's a very big deal for us. So just be aware. We love those comments. So, this is really interesting, Bina. I didn't realize that it had gone so quickly. All right, let me just finish on the life detective and trust. This, like I say, this is one of the most popular, or at least sessions that stick with participants, which I find really interesting. And it's very cool because it came about from a post that I made long ago, and I just included the whole post into the course. And it was really interesting because I started on life detective, and I said, this is a really cool conception. All right, to be a life detective. What does this mean to be a life detective? We're not going around looking for life like on an alien planet or something. No, we are being a detective to understand how life works and being able to figure out life. Holy moly. Now that's a very cool way of being a detective, because isn't life a kind of a mystery, right? And the mystery of life is how to live appropriately, how to live energy efficiently, how to live in all the things that we want to know how to do better, right? How to mood shift, how to be appropriate, whatever, right? So this is now when we treat this as a mystery, and we say, what do I need to be a good detective? And that all the things in the life detective thing there, they will actually help you be a literal better detective in life, because part of living and life is figuring stuff out. Being a detective is very cool. But then somehow that life detective, and I go into great detail about being a life detective. It's a long session, a lot to it. All the different points, it's like going point by point by point, what's involved in being a life detective. And somehow it morphed into a connectivity to capital T trust. And there is another session later on capital T trust. Capital T trust is a very, very big deal. And capital T trust is very different to little t trust. And when you get into it, you'll see the difference. Capital T trust is huge. If you want to know about capital T trust, just ask Erica Jane. Well, I call her the Titan of Trust, because when we came to this capital T trust, Erica Jane got really into it, and it really was a big deal for her. Now, it's a big deal for everybody, but she just like went crazy with it and gave us, we were listening to these seminars on trust for like a couple of months. It was very cool. So trust, capital T trust, life-changing, very, very big deal, right? So somehow these two got connected, and it's very cool how they connected. So it's a very, very powerful session. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can get to. I'll do module 4, Bina, and then we'll do 5 to 8 next week, and then we'll just have these as 2-hour sessions rather than one. I put it down as one. I thought I'll just go through this quickly, but man, there's so much here. So we'll just do it as 2 hours. That's fine. 2 hours. That's what we typically do a Zoom session in, or almost always, and 2 hours is a good time. So all right. It doesn't matter. So module 4, are you going to say something else, Bina, or no?
Please continue.
Okay.
Please continue.
So module 4, impeccability and super strategy. Now, of course, impeccability is what the program's all about. Now, I got to tell you, when I put all this together, right, this isn't just coming from me thinking, oh, I'm going to do Way of Impeccability and like, start sucking on my thumb and what do I need to do this? No. Not like that, right? This is something that I've been working on since age 10. Very literally, every day, right? I started, it's a long story, I can get into that, but this is something I've built in my life. And my purpose, my point, my intent, I was greatly fortunate to acquire a profound clarity of intent at age 10, right? And I spent all my life testing, figuring out this stuff, and I was in a bubble, so I pretty much did it on my own, which was a great bonus. And then later on, I read everything and I started to see the things that I'd already developed. You see it coming out in the stuff you're reading and all this. All right. So I'm trying to say that everything that I'm about is because of my original intent, which was a self-improvement intent. Yes, that was it. Everything was focused on that. So, and because I was doing it all on my own, figuring it out from scratch in this bubble, I got to basically go down the dead ends. No, that doesn't work. Yes, this works. So I had to learn how to learn because I got frustrated. Like, okay, I'm learning stuff, but it's not sticking with me. It's not staying with me. How do I get it to stay? How do I get to change my behavior? Not just change my memory, my understanding. So all of this stuff got in there, right? And well, I didn't even call it impeccability back then. I called it rightness, right? If you'd asked me at that age, the term I used was rightness, right? Now, I moved away from rightness because right and wrong has those moral things and it gets complicated. Impeccability is a better term for it, right? And rightness doesn't also imply energy management, which impeccability does. But anyway, so on this session, we get into what exactly is impeccability and why it's so connected to energy management, why it makes a difference, all of the stuff. Very, very, very important. Then we get to the next point here. Oh my goodness, this is huge too, right? Again, transformative, disruptive technologies, testing ourselves and what we know. This is about not only making things our own, but also self-proof. But we've got to test, right? And making this, it connects with this third session, it's all connected here. Making what's learned our own so we can be real. So this is a key point. We can learn stuff, but we are so trained and conditioned to learn in terms of information and not learn by way of ability, tools. And the way to do that is to get, first you have to have the understanding, then you have to have the application. You test, and through that testing, you make things your own, and then you self-prove to yourself that you can do it. Now it's real. So you become real through this testing and making it your own, self-proof. Very, very huge, huge, huge point. Now, many programs, I don't want to be negative on other programs. There are a lot of great programs out there, and they are very useful also. I mean, you can learn from them. I'm not saying that they're all nonsense, but there are also a great many that are nonsense, right? So you have to just be very, very, very careful out there. Unfortunately, most of the programs, and I'm not saying this from my own personal perspective, I'm saying this from the perspective of the participants, some of them who have done a great many of those other programs, right? They will tell you what it is to do, like information, but they won't show you how. They don't give you tools for actually putting it into application and getting it into you as something that becomes you and becomes innate. So all you end up with is information. And as we know, having the information in your head doesn't make much difference. I'll bet anything, anybody who is in the group, right? So likely if you're watching this, you've participated, or at least, read self-help books or listened to self-help talks or listened to TED Talks and all this, and read all the memes. And how much has that really changed you? Very little. Yes. So sometimes, yes, when you really get something, it changes you. But it'll only really change you when you live it, when you apply it, when you make it your own. And this is what this is all about, right? It's so that we can be real. Now, you may be living stuff because, well, you think you're supposed to. How well does that work for you? Think of all the conditioned stuff that you live in your life when you grew up. You're supposed to be this way. You're supposed to be that way, blah, blah. No. This is not an ideal way of living. You've got to be your own real self. This is very important. You cannot live somebody else's life. That doesn't work. And you probably all know that. So part of learning is to take what's learned and make it your own. Now, in this also, we'll talk about the profound, profound conception of receptivity. And much like Erica Jane can give you a wonderful seminar on trust, you can also do anybody can, but just for some participants, some things grab them a little more than others. Bina, as you want to hear about receptivity, just ask Bina, right? This is a very, very big deal. And to understand this concept of receptivity, capital R receptivity, is a very big deal. And there's much in it, right, Bina?
Sorry, my Facebook was delayed.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yes. This is something really profound for me when I understand. Of course, the foundation was Way of Impeccability and Mourners project.
Yeah.
But when you actually discover something by own, and it becomes your really own thing, your own discovery, of course, based on the knowledge and information and the wisdom you collect from other sources. But when you discover something and it becomes like a real life-changing moment for me, I know that this transformation and life-changing moments and aha moments, we use it very often, but this is what it is. In one Zoom session, just in 2 hours, sometimes we hear these aha moments for participants and of course from ourselves also, so many times. So for us, it's like an everyday thing. The transformation people look for us, it's like an everyday thing. So this activity is a big deal.
A huge deal. And in the different programs and courses, and it's probably in Way of Impeccability somewhere, I have quotes from a story called Sophie the Sophisticated, or I think Sophie and the Philosopher, but I'm not sure. I can't remember what the title of the story has been. If it's Sophie and the Philosopher or Sophie the Sophisticated. Anyway, Sophie the Sophisticated, is the main character, and the philosopher obviously in the story. But Sophie the Sophisticated is called Sophie the Sophisticated because Sophie understands receptivity. And one of the things that Sophie says, she says, I will not be influenced. Oh, you said, well, wait a second. And for instance, in the concept of doing a program like Way of Impeccability, Sophie will say, absolutely, I want to do this. I'm keen to do this. And Sophie has done it and loves doing it and continues to do it. But Sophie still says, I will not be influenced. But Sophie, how does this work? How can you do a program and say, I won't be influenced? That's why it's Sophie, the sophisticated. That's why she's sophisticated. She says to be influenced is to change without your willing choice. Yes?
Yes.
Sophie says, I will learn, I will grow, I will change. I may take on everything that's presented to me, but each and every single time I am going to do it because it's my choice, right?
Absolutely.
I'm going to choose. And this is very powerful, very different. If you influenced, there's no choice involved. When you choose, you're making it your own. You're becoming real, right? So this point of capital R receptivity to choosing how you change, even if you accept every single point or you choose to accept every single point, doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. The point is you are choosing. You are not just accepting it. You're not being influenced. Almost always when I see courses, the intent of the course giver is to influence you, not me. I am not looking to influence you. You might say, but, isn't that your job? Isn't that your task? Isn't that what you're supposed to do? No. It may seem so on the surface, but if I'm influencing you, I'm putting me into you. Now, what I have to say and share, yes, it's profound, it's valuable, it's useful, but you need to choose it. You need to get into that space, have the tools, have the ability, have the clarity of mind, clarity of awareness, clarity of intent, the ability to shift, the insight, the discernment, all of the stuff, so that you can choose. And when it's your choice, it becomes yours, it becomes power, and you become real. If I influence you, then you're not necessarily real. Yes. Now, of course, it depends very much how you're going to define this term influence. And it's part of when we understand the dictionary of power, we understand language, we understand the conceptions and how we define things and so on, right? And understand things, conceive of things. It all works together. So I want to really make this a huge, great, big point here. Like everything else, nothing in here is here just because it's fluff or added. It's all necessary. And it's really interesting that we at module 4, we're getting to halfway in the program, and now only we get to impeccability and energy management. Yeah, you think, well, it's way of impeccability. Shouldn't way of impeccability be right at the beginning? When I put
Yes.
this together, was the biggest challenge for me, the order in which I put things. So I started to say, well, in order to get to this, what I need first, right? So I said everything that was needed before we get to here. So it's really interesting that all of this stuff was needed to be in place before getting to impeccability. It's really fascinating, right? So it's really interesting to me how much there is before we even get to impeccability. So learning how to learn, and like the strategic ways of being and the dictionary of power, all of this stuff, being a life detective, this is the skill of being able to figure out, to understand. So if you don't have that skill, I could share all the stuff about impeccability, but if you don't have the ability to figure out, to put it through, to deduce, to infer, to understand, to construct, etc., etc., it's going to just go in one ear and out the other ear. So being a life detective enables you to make what's learned your own. Yeah. So that's connected there. It's the skill for this. Now, this is just emphasizing that, if you utilize those life detective skills, this is what it enables you to do, right? So it all works together. It all works together. It's not a linear line. It's more like connected dots in a sphere, and they're all interconnected, right? That's really what it's more about. So it's not like it goes ABC, but still, some things are important to have beforehand. Like, for instance, clarity of intent, focus of purpose, right there. Module 1, session 1, focus of purpose, clarity of intent, and all of the other tools. So this was really interesting for me how this came about, that, the order of the modules. Now, of course, you can do them in pretty much any order except for the last one. The last one kind of needs to be the last one, and the first one needs to be the first one. But the other ones, you can sort of switch them around, but it is better to do them in order. But I just always found it very interesting how much there was that was sort of necessary before we even come to impeccability and what exactly impeccability means. But I think that we all have a somewhat intuitive understanding of impeccability. In other words, impeccability, I think that if you just take it without our deeper meanings of it and our extra, which we get into in this particular, in session 1 of module 4, then I think most people would think of impeccability as rightness of living. Yes, as living in a way that you have, your conscience is clear about, that you feel good about it, you feel right about it, gives you a sense of honor and integrity in living, right? And that you don't feel bad about, and you don't have any doubts about, and so on. So it's a very, 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 very big deal. But anyway, we get into it. There's more to impeccability. I don't want to give the game away here now, so I got to be careful. I'm free with lots of information, but I got to keep a few things. To say. All right, you want to know more? Yeah, come to the program. Well, yes, it is important, because if we latch onto things half-heartedly, we think we know, but it doesn't really translate into actual living. We got to have it all. You've got to have your system working all together. It's like your car, right? If everything's not working right in your car, you can drive with a flat wheel, but not ideal. You can drive with shock absorbers that are spent, that are no good anymore, but it's a bumpy ride. Yes, you can drive, maybe your steering fluid or whatever is very low and you can't really turn and it's creaking and groaning. You can do so, but it's not only dangerous, but it's not very smooth and fluid. Yes. So when everything's working right in your car, of course, it's a joy and a pleasure to drive. Yes. And that's why I'm saying, when it comes to things like this, we have to be very careful of saying, I get it, and being overeager. You need to get all of it. It's very important. Need to get all of it, right? It all works together. And it's not about remembering. So, well, I'm not going to remember any of stuff. No, you don't need to remember it. When you come at it one by one, if you're building a car, right, and you put on the roof, whatever, you put on the wheels, you put the chassis, you put in the engine, they all work together. You don't have to remember, right? You can go look it up. So you don't have to remember where they go. Once it's in, it's in. You don't have to remember. It's there. It's fit. You understand. When you put the wheel on properly, it's in. You don't have to remember, I need to put the wheel on. It's done. It's done appropriately. It's done thoroughly. That's it. Right? You don't have to remember each little step that you took in order to build your car. Right? When it's in and it's working properly, it works. Yeah, you don't have to remember it. So this is very important. So knowing things and knowing it to the point that you can use it, it's not memory dependent. A little bit here and there, yes, but not in general, no. Right? So like when you get in your car, when you learned to drive, you were told, do this, and you had a whole lot of things you need to remember. But now when you go and drive your car, you just drive it. Yeah. Right? You don't sit there, I need to do it. You don't use your memory to drive your car. Yeah. Or at least I hope not. If you are, there's a very poor way of driving your car. Yeah. So this is what we are aiming at. We want to drive ourselves in that free way that's automatic and innate, that doesn't rely on memory. And for that, you need to know each part in detail, so that it becomes incorporated into yourself. It's a knowing, it's innate, it's in you, it's in your body, it's in your energy. Now, very, very big deal. So this making what's learned our own, so we can be real, it's all part of this, right? It all connects to the self-conception, to the energy management, being alive today, all of these different skills, the philosophy of takeaway, all of this stuff, right? Very, very, very powerful. Now we got more stuff, as you see here, module 5, and then there's 6, 7, and 8, which we'll get into next week. These are the other programs. All right. So I really thought this would go a lot quicker. I am incredibly surprised, but there's so much to this. I can't emphasize that there's so much. And that's why when doing this, know this, right? Since we're talking about Way of Impeccability, that's why it's a 4-month minimum to do the program. Minimum, right? Minimum. Right? If you really want real change, you've got to do it and go into it step by step. Make it your own, move on. Make it your own, move on. Then you start to put it all together, and all works together. This is not something that's going to happen in a weekend or a week or two. No. That's why it's a 4-month minimum. Now, typically it takes longer than that, but just to understand, this is truly, truly life change. Life change. not changing one little thing about yourself, not learning maybe, okay, I want to be a public speaker. You might be a great public speaker, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be happy in your personal life. You're going to have independence of being. You're going to feel you can live life without stress and fear and anxiety and worry and all the stuff, right? So particular skills don't make for necessarily an empowered, fulfilled life. We are talking about life change, being who you really, really wish to be. Yes. And able to be this, to live your mourners, to be a real person. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very big deal. Very big deal. Right. And it's a continuous process, of course, too. So, I mean, ask Sher. Sher's been, we've been at this for a while, right, Sher? But you were just saying the other day how stuff is now coming to you, falling into place and connecting and learning. Oh, wonderful, Norma. Norma says, my car listens to me. Yes, Norma. Yes, yes, yes. The car is a magical analogy because, if you really drive, it is to be interactive. Let me read. So, I got some comments here. Yeah. There we go. My car talks to me. Yes, Ryan. Yes. Exactly. Lets me know when I'm off track. Yes. So when we have this and ourself, to really see this car analogy as your body, not just your body, but your psychology, your philosophy is all part of the car, right? I mean, like Ryan says, his car talks to him. Sure, old times they didn't have this. Our modern cars are much more sophisticated. They have this ability to talk to us. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely my pleasure, Norma. Absolutely my pleasure. Truly, truly. I really makes me very happy to hear that what I'm saying connects with you and touches you, Norma. It's a very big deal. Let me pay attention to what Cindy's saying here. Within is a place that is divine. Yes, absolutely. In nature, the foundation of self is whole light known by heart and very easy and comforting, I assume. Very easy and comforting. Yes, exactly, Cindy. That's where we're going with this, is to connect to that innerness. We call it mourners. Divinity, same thing. I just prefer the term mourners because it doesn't have so much, divinity. For some people, they get a little put off. Okay, it's all going to be religious stuff, blah, blah. No, any way of impeccability, it enhances your personal belief system. Yes, it doesn't detract from it or sidetrack it or replace it. It enhances it. So this is very powerful, and I'm very cautious and careful and very deliberate. Like I said, when I use mourners, in this case, it's exactly what you're saying, right? Within is a place that is divine. Yes, well, divine in nature. Yes, this to me is what mourners means. Right? So, or part of mourners, obviously, it's much more to mourners, but it's very cool. So, this is what we are looking to do: is to connect to that inner divinity, that inner mourners, and to be able to live it and use it and apply it. It's like having this beautiful car, but it just sits in your garage and you never get to use it. Oh, come on, that's no good. That's no good. That's no good. So wonderful, Cindy. Thank you for the comment. This is very cool. This is very cool. I love that. I love that. So yes, magical ways, Ryan, magical ways. Magic, I talk about magic a lot. Let me just quote Biala, which is the main character in my book series, and it's a big deal, and we'll get into that. It's part of everything. Anyway, as Biala says, if you don't believe in magic, for heaven's sake, change your definition. Right? So most people have sort of an idea about magic and they just think it's saying abracadabra and spells. No. For me, what we're doing right now, Zoom, the internet, Facebook, your phone, the car, this is all magic to me. It's all magic to me. Also, right, capital T, trust. When you really understand it, this is magical. It adds to your life. It gives you something you would not otherwise have. Impeccability is magical. Dictionary of power, magical. Self-conception, magical. So lots and lots of magic. Nature is magical. To me, life is magical. Explain to me what life is exactly, how it comes about. Well, it's almost impossible, right? We don't know for sure. It's all magic, right? So when we understand this deeper connectivity to magic, it's a very, very, very big deal. Very, very big deal. Very big deal. So I love magic, and bringing magic into everything is a very, very big deal. And again, like I said with the comments, please share, people, share what comes up in you. It doesn't even have to be relevant, right? You're watching the program, you're listening, or not the program, the live or the replay, and something comes up in you, bubbles up in you. And where did this come from? Share it. Do it right away. Do it immediately. It's one of the parts of takeaway. There's somehow in your that's disconnected. It's relevant, and when you share it, then you'll see why likely. Right? It always works out that way. So share, people, share. We take this stuff very seriously. Yes, we all need Mourners magic. It enhances life. It changes life. Somebody was saying to me, like they enjoy my enthusiasm and my fun, my lust for life, really. Why? Because to me, everything is magical. Yeah. So it's very simple. It's very simple. So I have a great time. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I have a ball. I have a blast. It's a big, big deal. Big deal. All right. So, let's see. Is there anything else? Anything else before I go, Bina?
No, you were actually responding to all the comments we are having. Just wanna if you are wrapping it up, so just wanna thanks everyone. Ryan, thank you so much. Janelle, thank you so much. Cheryl was here again. Love you, Cheryl. And Norma was here. Love you. And Cheryl actually made a lot of effort to be here.
Yes.
She was busy, but still she says, "No, I want to be here," and that was really wonderful of her. So thank you so much, everyone, and also Cindy. Sorry, I saw your message late. But thank you so much for being here and also commenting. Please do watch this video if you haven't watched it completely. And then please do comment, and we would love to respond to that. Thank you so much, Sil, for such a detailed sharing from like always. This is so brilliant. I will again try to just emphasize on that it's an opportunity. Just these Zoom, these FB lives, if someone really want to learn something and of course improve their life, even just these live FB live videos are more than enough for that.
Yeah. Which reminds me, that, I'm so focused on the sharing of this because this is so important to me. It's so valuable. But I do want to make the point that I do have places open in Way of Impeccability. So if somebody wants to do it, there is the opportunity to do it now. I do have spots and spaces open. I'll add it to the post and add it in comments. But I kind of forget to mention this, which I really do need to be a bit more diligent about making this clear. Because I don't think a lot of people sort of realize that this is available and it can be done. So if you are interested in any way in Way of Impeccability, just message me, contact me. You can message Bina as well if you like, or share or share. If you want to ask them as participants, Erica, Jane. If you want to get, because you might think, well, I'm biased or whatever. All right, ask them what it's about. They'll be very happy to share. They're very generous in that way, because to them, Way of Impeccability is a big deal, and they will share and tell you exactly what's going on. So, but also, of course, feel free to message me, ask, come on, you can come on Zoom and we can spend an hour or two chatting about this, and you can really find out what it's all about. That's why I did that pre-program program. If anybody wants to go through this, who's interested in Way of Impeccability, we can go through that pre-program program with you individually. It won't cost you anything. It's the pre-program program. And then you can really see, do I want to commit to this? Do I want to invest in this? Do I want to set the time aside to doing this? Of course, Way of Impeccability means that you are really serious about life change. You're not just playing at it. It's not something you do to look, my friends, look what I'm doing, how cool this is. No, you're not pretending. You're doing it for real. You really, really want to change for you, for your own self, right? You see that your life, you may even have a nice life. A lot of people who do Way of Impeccability, they have a great life. All right, it's all cool, all wonderful. But they realize there's more, and they want that more. Yes. So an okay life that has all the usual trappings of the dream, American dream or whatever, any country, because we're international. But that typical trappings of life, you can get all that and still realize you're unsatisfied. Midlife crisis, but some people have a midlife crisis a lot earlier in their lives. Right? Even as teenagers, sometimes they realize that, hey, all the things that society says I want, even if I get that, so what? I'm still not living empowered, fulfilled, living a real life, being real me and all this, right? So this is the moreness of what's the more in life. This is what Way of Impeccability is about. Now, if this is important to you, talk to me. Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. Yes, please, please. I want to emphasize this, right, Bina? That we are open. I'm not living in an ivory tower. I'm not far away. I'm not remote. I am here. You can talk to me. You can connect to me. You can interact to me. You can do it on chat. You can send me emails even, or you can come on Zoom. You know, very open, very open. I'm not some remote, distant thing. Yes, right, Bina?
And yes, absolutely. Just want to add a few more things about that. You were saying that you might seem like a bit biased because this is the program designed by you. Absolutely not, Sil. I think that anyone who is just watching these FB lives, this is so generous. There's so much into this, and one can understand that if someone is putting so much effort and dedication towards just doing this FB lives for the pre-program, how this program would be. One more thing that we all are here, and I assume everyone here wants to learn and grow and want moreness in their life. The first step towards is ask. And if the universe is providing you an opportunity, please prompt and make a decision and just come. It's not going to cost anyone anything just by coming and asking about it.
Exactly.
Just break this habit of assuming things. This is the very first few lessons of Way of Impeccability. I'm using the word lesson, which is prohibited here, but the first few sharing from Way of Impeccability. Don't assume. Check.
Exactly.
Don't assume. Check.
Exactly. Exactly. And also, you bring up a fantastically powerful point. Overwhelm. Do not assume it's too complicated for you. It's too much for you. No. When we start and we go through it, we go step by step, and there's no predetermined pace to the program. We go according to each individual's pace. Yes. And sometimes we may get stuck, or not stuck, but we may take weeks or a month or 2 months, however long, on a particular point until it's there, until it's essential, right? So, for instance, if you can't make a cross-traffic turn, you can't go driving in your car until you've learned to do this. You can't do it, and you have to keep learning until you get it. Doesn't matter how long it takes. If you want to learn to drive, you learn until you get it right. So, because you can't say, well, never mind, we'll just skip over that and go. No, that's not how it works. Because if you can't do that, what are you going to do? Always just make right turns only and never go cross traffic, never make a left turn across traffic? You see what I mean? You can't do this. So this is very, very important. We go at your pace. And, sometimes it may take a bit of a detour to get to where you want to learn. But eventually it does, because this is how we understand learning. We don't always get it directly. Sometimes we have to go, okay, look at it from this point, look at it from this one. Okay, all right, I get it. Or you practice, you learn, you apply, and it slowly creeps in. But this is very important. So I want to really, really make this point. Don't be put off by this program being overwhelming and saying, I'm just stupid, I know nothing, and I'll never learn any of the stuff. Nope, absolutely no. Don't worry. It's your idea of what you can learn is based on memory learning, not Way of Impeccability learning, which is understanding learning. It's about obviousness, about self-evident sensibilities. It's actually really quite obvious. My job, when we do the program and we go on Zoom, my job is to make the obvious obvious. That's really what I do most of the time. I make the obvious obvious. And I explain one, and you, okay, well, duh. So often though, the participants, that duh becomes retroactive in time. They don't actually felt like they've learned anything. You just told me what I already knew. Yeah. But were you using it? Was it obvious? Was it in awareness? No. Okay. See the difference between before and after when things become a duh, when they become obvious. Massive. But this is what I do. I assist you to get to that duh point. And a duh is easy, right?
Yes.
When something becomes a duh, do you have to make any effort to get to duh? No. It's like, well, duh. But you weren't at that duh before. So understand that doing Way of Impeccability is about series of does. And this is my job, and I'm very skilled at this, even I have to say so myself. Something that I've learned in my life to be able to say, I never was able to do this before. I had too much humility and modesty to say, I'm good at this. I am exceptionally skilled at making the obvious obvious. Right, Bina?
Yes. Absolutely. Please, Sil, I want to ask you to please elaborate a bit more about that. Language is not a hurdle here, because
Correct.
we use very sophisticated language.
Correct.
As everyone
Correct.
can see that, but it is not a hurdle, because
Correct. No.
the
No.
whole program is designed in a way that not only you will learn this language, but also this program is going to be customized with your needs and
Exactly.
requirements also.
Exactly. Good point, Bina. Good point. Right. So an alternative name for Way of Impeccability is the language of conceptionality. Right. Ties
Yeah.
into the Dictionary of Power. Now, we use all of these terms, and we have a Dictionary of Power, and there's all these profound conceptions in there. And they are typically words that we don't usually use. But in order to, as a result, let me back up a bit. So yes, we are going to be introducing many of these conceptions, and they aren't necessarily in your vocabulary right now. But this is the key again. Vocabulary is not about remembering the words. When you understand a word, it's going to enter into your vocabulary automatically. And now you're truly going to have a extended, deeper, profound, like Bina. You can hear when you listen to Bina, right? I mean, that English is a second language, right? But as Bina speaks a phenomenally sophisticated English, even though sometimes her grammar may be a bit off on this. Why? Because when she uses those words, those terms, those conceptions, she's using them as conceptions, not as vocabulary. Right? Because she understands when she's talking about receptivity or trust or appropriateness or attunement or attention, whatever, she understands it. And this is the point. It's become a duh to her, right? Because she understands it. When you understand, at some point, you go, oh, duh. Once it's a duh, it's innate, it's automatic. So yeah, so this is one of the benefits of Way of Impeccability that I don't even know if I mentioned, is that your vocabulary is going to explode. But you aren't going to be an egghead with, a technical vocabulary, because you're not relying on memory and you're not saying words to just sound important. No, you're using them because they mean something, they matter. You understand them, you know them, you live them. Right? So Bina lives receptivity. She's living appropriateness. All of these thoughts, impeccable, whatever. Right? So yeah, don't be put off by that. But it is one of the profound benefits. Be aware that we start where you are at, and we keep building as appropriate for you. Right? And I know this, that anybody can learn this. Anybody can do this, because we aren't teaching you something new. We are connecting to what's already in you. It's really about getting rid of the blocks. That's important. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, I don't know. And all this, that stuff. No, if you have basically can speak English more or less, right? That means, compared to, for instance, look at when you look at computers, when they try to have natural language, they can't get computers to speak the way we do of their own accord. It takes incredible amount of processing power to just simply be able to speak. The difference between us and the ability to use language means that you've got this incredible brain behind you. So the very fact that you can just put a sentence together means you have the ability to learn all of this, right? This is not just my opinion. This is actual scientific fact. You can go look it up, how much it takes to be able to say a simple sentence of your own accord. It's an incredible accomplishment. Takes an incredible amount of brain power. So if you can say any one simple sentence, right, you have incredible moreness and brain power already. So this is absolutely learnable by everybody. Yes, Bina?
Yes, absolutely. So thank you so much, Sil. Thank you so much for elaborating it.
Pleasure.
And now it's time to wrap up. It's already crossed 2 hours. So yes. Thank you everyone
so we'll
for being
sign off here. And please,
Yes.
again, contact us, connect with us, talk to us, share with us. We want to hear from you, right?
Yes.
All right. On that note, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
All right. There we go. Stop live stream. And let's see. Stop the recording here.